Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Fergal.
And we're from Movie Smash.
Comic book movies are having a golden age right now with the MCU.
Movies based on comics aren't necessarily a new thing, but they're a big thing.
Join us every other Tuesday on Movie Smash.
We explore these movies and find some hidden gems.
Every other week, we revisit some of the best.
And some of the worst movies based on comics or graphic novels.
Was Green Lantern as bad as you remember?
Heck no!
Is Time Cop the most accurate time travel movie ever created?
Absolutely.
Was Mystery Men way ahead of its time?
Should they be revisited? Should they be forgotten?
Join us on Movie Smash and find out. Listen wherever you find your fine podcasts.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame Sigrit and Carta, or Sigrit and Carta.
Sigrit, yeah, that's a good name. Mm-hmm. It's a good name, yes. She's probably not my sister, but
Probably not. But now I realize, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta vote soon, so is that gonna affect the fact that I change my name again? Is it gonna go through
by the time
I vote?
By the time this airs, the election will have been over with, so...
True.
Hopefully we'll find out before then. But yeah...
We'll find out if I vote, yeah.
Yeah, I mean... They could, like, just take your name off the rolls like they do some people. And, yeah.
Yep.
You know what's really fun? When you try to vote after you move to a new town.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta.
Luckily, it wasn't too hard for me, but when I moved out of town and I had to change my address and stuff, it was kind of fun. I had to go get a new ID and all that stuff. So
yeah, it's a whole process.
I'm sure it's fun for, like, women when they get married and change their last names and stuff too, you know?
Right. It's like, I gotta do all this paperwork, yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. So, today on the podcast, before we start, I would like to ask people to go to all2real2.com and sing our praises anywhere that you can. Give us a 5-star review, on Apple Podcast or Spotify or anywhere that you can. Subscribe to the show. If you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe there. Even if you're not, just go there and subscribe, because the more subscribers we have there, the more we have there.
The algorithm helps us out then because of that.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Maybe it does.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not just tech. I'm not one of these tech boys. Okay.
Tech bros.
Yeah.
With your tech stuff and your your Peter Thiels and your JD Vances and your Elon Musks.
Exactly. Whatever. He said he wouldn't trust anything with the computer. I'm like, dude, you literally have self-driving cars.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? Anyway, sorry, I don't want to get too much in that, but it's just like...
He was talking about voting machines, that he wouldn't trust any voting machines ran by computers, and it's like, yeah, that's why people don't trust your fucking cars, you dumb fucker. Anyway, so...
sorry.
Anyways, on better news, check out our TeePublic, check out our Patreon. I'd recommend that you check out our charities that we have in the show notes, and donate to one of those charities, especially the ones helping out kids in Palestine right now, because they need it while they're still alive. Yeah, hopefully maybe by the time this airs, things will be a little bit better over there. I doubt it, but we'll see. Anyways, so on a happier note, today we are covering a movie that was a comedy. It is called Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. Came out in 2020, in June of 2020.
Yep, that was an interesting...
What's that?
So that was an interesting time period.
Yeah, the movie was originally supposed to come out in conjunction with the Eurovision Contest, but the Eurovision Contest was canceled that year.
Right. Okay.
So it was just unfortunate. So it was directed by David Dobkin, who is known most probably for Wedding Crashers, for directing that, among other comedies and music videos and things of that nature, and did some music videos for Maroon 5, among other people. It was written by Will Ferrell, and Harper Steele. There's a new documentary out that I want to check out on Netflix right now called Will and Harper, which looks interesting about their friendship and they're traveling across the country after Harper had transitioned to a woman. Movie stars Will Ferrell as Lars, Rachel McAdams as Sigrit. We have Dan Stevens as Alexander, Michael Persbrandt as Victor Carlsson or something. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to be bad with these names because a lot of them are Icelandic.
Icelandic words are very hard to,
or other nations. We have Pierce Brosnan as Lars's dad, Eric. We have Olaf Dari Olafsson as Niels Brongus. We have Melissa the Mahat as Mita.
Oh, Mita.
Yeah. And we have cameos in this movie. There's a bunch of other people in the movie too, but that's like some of our main cast. We also have cameos from Graham Norton, the Irish British talk show host from the UK, and singer Demi Lovato plays Katiana. So that's our cast here.
Yep.
The short summary from the Internet Movie Database says, when aspiring musicians Lars and Sigrit are given the opportunity to represent their country at the world's biggest song competition, they finally have a chance to prove that any dream worth having is a dream worth fighting for.
Pretty good. I like that.
So that's what that's all about. So you selected this movie. What are your thoughts about it? Initial thoughts?
I love this movie. I first saw it in June 2020, and it's a very personal space in my heart because that movie actually really got me through that summer when, like, I think a lot of us have just sort of like blocked that out from our memories, but like a lot of stuff went down that summer. I mean, a lot. Like, and I think because survive, sometimes you need to kind of put things away in certain parts of your mind so that you could, live on and stuff like that. But which makes sense, obviously. But yeah, I mean, just think about the George Floyd protests. Obviously, COVID was going on. Our president, so-called, was making things much worse for everyone, both politically
and that year, you and I both lost one of our closest friends and former guest on our show, Jamal Wallace Knight. So
a few months later in November. And we had to put my dog to sleep 13 days before he died. So that was also, like two clip basically, in less than 2 weeks time. And then obviously that was an election summer, just like this year. So there's a lot of stuff that was really, and plus, at the time too, I was very depressed. I didn't have a doctor yet, and I wasn't on any kind of medication. And so I was pretty much just having to try to fight off those feelings just from, sheer willpower, which was, very exhausting. I had a falling out with a very good friend of mine over some of the things that are featured throughout the movie, which, looking back on that, I probably could have given them more grace than I did. But at the same time, I also was firm and told them that I was not ready to talk about the subject, and they pushed me anyway. So I guess technically we're kind of both in the wrong a little bit when it came to that. I should have been more graceful and not just not just drew a hard line and said, no, I will not talk about this. Even though I wanted to respect my rights or whatever, my wishes, I still probably could have been like a little bit. But then again, it's like everything was going on. I was just so stressed out from everything, so it's like I was reacting to things, all kinds of things, in a different way. And I was also going through withdrawals from kratom, which is a terrible, terrible plant. I would never recommend anyone try ever. And so basically just all this shit was just going on all at the same time. And then I ended up watching this movie. At first I watched like 15 minutes and I didn't like it. So I shut it off. And then a few days later, I just decided to watch it again. And I gave it like more than 10 minutes to watch, and then I just fell in love with it. And I must have watched that movie probably conservatively about 20 times during that summer, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I think it was probably around that much. My niece got really into it. That became one of her favorite movies for the summer. My parents liked it a lot, and it became like one of my lifelines for that time period, actually, because it was just a really hard time for me. Anyway, I'm like having like almost like flashbacks now just talking about it, but yeah.
Hey, let's just get to the movie. What do you feel about the movie itself?
Well, no, I think it's fine to talk about. I mean,
No,
the
I know it
personal
is. I'm
stuff.
saying that I don't want you to get too depressed. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just So basically, it's Will Ferrell's character. His name is Lars Eriksson. His mother passed away when he was really young, and his dad and his friends were watching Eurovision Song Contest one day in Iceland. By the way, they did not actually. Iceland was not actually even in that year, and they didn't actually even air it on Icelandic TV during that year. But fine, no matter. And 1974, and I looked it up. It was a while back, and
I mean,
so he
was all excited about ABBA, who are not Icelandic, so it's okay. So.
Yeah, he was listening to Waterloo by ABBA, and he really liked it and said, they're all laughing at him because he was having a good time. Because that's what you do when you're seeing a child who's normally depressed and finally has a spark of life in them. You laugh and mock them. That's something that you do, right? I heard from all the child psychologists that's what you're supposed to do. Like, Dr. Spock.
That's the way you make a real man out of somebody.
You make a real man who turns to alcohol and other hard drugs and spousal abuse. Yes, that's what you do. And anyway, that's
what like great psychologists like Dr. Jordan Peterson would say.
Yeah, the guy who wears multicolored suits. Yes, and anyway, so
the real yes,
a Batman villain. No, you're right. Yes, a Batman villain. That's what he looks like. He could actually be in the next comic issue. He's the doctor, whatever. Yep. Anyway, so he's like, no, I'm really gonna do it. And then they kind of go to the future, like to our time period of like 2020, and him and Sigrit are in a band now, and they're playing this song on like a mountain or like a volcano and stuff, and really good song. Turns out it was just fantasy. They're just playing in his garage or whatever. And his dad disapproves of him because he's not doing anything with his life, blah blah blah, whatever. So there's that kind of father-son tension that got going on pretty much throughout the entire movie. They eventually get picked for the Icelandic version. Like basically, whoever wins the Icelandic then gets to go into Eurovision. And they already kind of decided who they're going to pick. Some woman named Katiana is a very good singer, played by, like you said, Demi Lovato. But you needed two artists, and so the people who are kind of setting up the whole thing for the Icelandic version just told one of the guys to just pick out a cassette or pick out one and just close your eyes and just one. Who cares, And give it a cassette tape, which even makes it funnier. It's like they couldn't even burn a CD; they have a cassette tape. But
yeah.
I'm like, it's 2020. Like, come on. Like,
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. And so they get picked, obviously, because that's where the movie is heading. And they're super excited, obviously. The rest of the people are kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe we picked these people. But we have to because they've earned their right to go. And so throughout the movie, it's like a through line.
I was gonna say the way that they ended up going to Eurovision.
Oh yeah,
is because there was a like celebration on a boat after the contest. After the contest, and the boat exploded. Like body parts even went flying. Katiana's arm went flying to them while they weren't on the boat because they decided not to go onto the boat, and so they were the only ones left. That's how they got to Eurovision. So
yeah, it was a really pathetic performance because he had left to try to talk to the people in the sound area or lights to I want to do some pointers before our performance. He's like, you do realize you go right after Katiana, right? And so he's trying to rush back there. Eventually, she has to sing half the song by herself because he can't find a way in. And then they had these dumb, because he always designs all of their costumes and all of their theatrics. He's so into this idea of winning that he controls everything basically for the band. And so they had these angel wings that were supposed to make them float up into the air, but one of the straps broke on Will Ferrell, so he fell straight on his back, which I'm surprised didn't break his back, to be honest. Because that's reality. Yeah, I'd say that was a pretty hard fall, and Will Ferrell's not exactly. He's got some pounds on him. He's very tall, but he's got some pounds on him. So that would have been a hard fall. But so he's they didn't go because he was practically sobbing and weeping. He felt so bad about it. And then, but there's this moment too because like he's trying to be sad, but at the same time he's happy because they get to go to the contest.
Yeah.
And like she's like, "Oh, I feel so bad about the people on the boat." It's like, "I know, me too." It's like, oh god.
Yeah, and so they end up going to Eurovision. What happens then?
Yeah, they're one of the contestants. Everyone kind of feels weird about them being there because they kind of know the reason why. But they, it's kind of cool. They meet this Russian dude who's he's got a really hit song called "Lion of Love." He's obviously gay, but he doesn't really acknowledge it until the end of the movie. And really good, powerful voice, very deep, masculine, voice, but also very high notes. It's very kind of gives you a punch,
Yeah,
and he's like one of the favorites. They pretty much think
he's played by Dan. He's played by Dan Stevens, who's actually British. But
okay, yeah, and he looks a little bit like a friend I have from high school, and out of high school as well. His name's Dave Ailing. He was from a band called Once Over, like a sort of like a nu metal kind of band, and like
it
if he had hair the way
him, he changed his name to Dan Stevens and became British. It's really weird.
Yeah, so that's what happened was he went to Britain, got citizenship, became an actor, and then found his way into the movie Eurovision Song Contest. But that was actually a stepping stone to eventually wanting to enter the actual Eurovision Song Contest as well. So kind of a long bit, but to each their own, right? So.
Dan Stevens' singing is actually done by another person as well in the movie. So
yeah, I figured. Yeah, I mean, some of these songs are a little bit too advanced, for it to be like the actor. I mean, I guess it could be, but yeah. The same thing with Sigrit. Her voice is being voiced by someone else.
It's actually a combination of Rachel McAdams' real voice and this other singer. They kind of like merged them like when they were recording things. So sometimes it's her and sometimes it's not, but most of the time it's not. But sometimes it actually is her. So yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, beautiful voice. They sing. They have these songs that are actually pretty good songs that like I still listen to on their own. So, like Double Trouble is like the song that they got to play for the contest, and sometimes I just listen to that song on its own because I just think it's a good song. And Will Ferrell actually sings on that song too. He's not that bad, really.
He does all of his own. He does all of his own singing. Rachel McAdams' singing is mostly done by Molly Sandén, who is a Swedish singer. So
yeah, it's just really, really good music. It's a musical too. It's a comedy, but it's also a musical, and really lots of good songs, lots of good scenes. Really great cinematography too in this movie when it comes to some of the scenes, the music. Because there's this one part that happens later on where they all kind of like sing together at the Russian dude's his name was Alexander Lemtov, was the Russian dude, and he's like super rich. He's got like mansions all over the place, and so he invited everyone to go to one of his parties, and they ended up doing this thing called a song-along, which is less like kind of like everyone sort of just participates, like to kind of add their 2 cents into a various song that kind of go through different songs too. Like they started off with Cher, I think. Was it? I think it was Cher. Yeah, Cher. Do you believe in? Yeah.
Do you believe in your love? Yeah.
Yeah, and so they start off with that one. They went into "Ray of Light" by Madonna, which I love that song so much. They "Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night" by, I'm not sure who that band is, but that was a really famous
Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas. They also did "Waterloo" was in there at one point. A couple other songs too. But it's really cool because like the way the cameras are moving when people are around, and too if you're listening on your headphones, if you had surround sound. There's this part where a woman is walking down the stairs that she's singing, and when she gets closer to the camera, like her voice gets actually louder and it goes into like the right speaker or whatever. So that was kind of really cool. It kind of tickles your ear a little bit, and so I always thought that was really neat. And the song is also beautiful, really cool. Will Ferrell does his own harmonies in that as well. He's actually not that bad as a singer. I mean, he's not like world class, but he's not that bad. And bunch of other shit happens. A lot of it's leading up to the contest. Most of the movie is actually getting to that point. A lot of it is building up.
There's a lot of tension throughout the movie between Sigrit and Lars, because there's this whole like will they, won't they sort of thing with them since they were kids, I guess. But he's been so focused on the music that he's not noticing that like right in front of him is like this girl that loves him, so yeah.
I mean,
And,
yeah, she's followed him his whole life, and she's willing to accept that, but at the same time, he's very controlling because he writes all the songs, he designs all of the costumes, which you find out later on, the terrible, ludicrous costumes he makes should not be a fashion designer whatsoever. But because at one point they're trying to, I guess, re-record their song for some reason, I guess, like in a professional studio. And it's just a terrible
redo the backing tracks for it and stuff. And they hire like this like DJ to like redo it, like add beats and shit with it, and because they think it'll be cool, or at least, or I should say Lars thinks it'll be cool, but Rachel McAdams doesn't want to have anything to do with it. A Sigrit. So yeah,
Sigrid does, because it's terrible. If you listen to it, it's horrible, and because she even says it sounds busy. I never even heard that phrase before made in that context, but after hearing that, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what she's reacting.
Oh yeah, there's so much going on. Like, you could say that are busy, because like if you have too much production in something or too much going on, like some songs sound a lot better when they're simpler.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like there's a few songs I can think of. I can't think of names right now, but yeah, and plus too, with Lars, it's always about winning. So it's not even about. For him, it's not even about whether the song actually objectively sounds better the other way. He might, inwardly, actually even agree with Sigrid that it does sound better, but he cares more about what other people might like as opposed to what actually serves the song. And he brought in this K-pop dude who was in a band called Kitty Cat Fancy. It's not a real band, I don't think. And,
I was just looking over some stuff too, and Molly Sandon, who does the singing for Sigrit, she was part of a junior Eurovision Song Contest in 2006. So so she's kind of been part of Eurovision. So so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they bring in a lot of people who were people who either won or were part of Eurovision, like various different
during that song along thing, they had a bunch of past winners or contestants from Eurovision in the past, so that was kind of cool. They had they had people from like Sweden and Moldova and France and Israel and Ukraine and Austria, among other places. So
it was really cool. I was gonna make a comment when you said Israel, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I was holding back, but I'm good.
I'm not gonna. Well, I'll say this: I'm not gonna say anything about what's going on currently. But what I think is interesting is, why is Israel part of Eurovision? Because it's a European. But then they're saying that they're indigenous to the land, but yet they're part of Eurovision. So how do you have it both ways? Anyway,
it doesn't make any sense to me. They might as well let people in from Japan and the United States and Canada and stuff, if that's the case,
So it's almost like they're admitting that it's like a European project. Anyway, I don't want to get into that too much, but I don't want to ruin the vibe here that we got on. But I did notice that when I was like, that seems odd to me. But okay, anyway, it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, the only part of the movie was actually shot in Israel too.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but, the Israeli singer, I mean, I'll give her credit. She was pretty good. Her name is Neda Brazilii or something like that. I can't pronounce it. But yeah, she's a slightly heavy-set woman who was singing in there. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think I know what you're
won Eurovision in 2018. So
2018, okay. Yeah, I during that time too, I watched that clip so many times too after I finished the movie. I just loved that, and so I would literally just go on like YouTube and just like watch that clip like hundreds of times until like all the dopamine was just sucked out of me.
The other day, that was the only scene I had seen from the movie. So
really, I sent it to you probably back then too, and
it's the only thing I've ever seen. So yeah.
I bet you was me, because I was sending that song to like everybody. I was like, check out this song.
I know 1,000% it was you that sent it to me. So yeah,
absolutely. I sent it to Michelle, Jessica, Sean, Andrew, various friends of ours.
Yeah.
I even think I sent it to. I think I even sent it to Babe Ruth and Susan.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm sending it to everyone I knew because I just thought it was so cool. And that's like only like 3 minutes of that whole movie, but it's just such a cool thing. And so yeah, there's like the whole will they, won't they? Ooh, will they get it? Because his name is Will Ferrell. And they're like kind of like being pulled apart a little bit. Lemtov wants to like show Sigrit around town because he kind of wants to prove to himself that he's not gay, and so he wants her to kind of be like his musical / romantic partner because they had like really good chemistry together when it came to the song that they were singing at the party. And then Will's kind of being taken away by this extremely hot Greek singer. Well, no, she's Greek in real life, but what's that?
Lars is the character Lars.
Sorry, Lars. So not Will. Sorry, Lars is being kind of led by the hand by the Greek singer Amita, and she's kind of trying to talk him down of like, hey, like let's just like enjoy the moment. Like you don't need to constantly work on the song and practice. Like you're in another country with other people. Like let's mingle, let's do something. And she's, kind of sexually attracted to him for some reason. I mean, not to be mean, but it's Will Ferrell. I mean, he's a great guy, I'm sure, and he's very funny, he's very talented, but not the kind of guy I would think. I'm not saying I'm that way either. I'm not saying that, like,
he's not classically handsome like Dan Stevens is.
Right? He's got that kind of face, that kind of. But she's really into him, and there's this kind of tension that goes on where Sigrit's partying all night with Lemtov at the disco, and she's drinking way too much, and so she ends up staying over at his place because she, basically, I guess his place maybe was closer, I don't know. And then he braids her hair for 6 hours while she's sleeping. That was kind of weird. But anyway, and he was very good at it, obviously. I think
that was playing up the homosexual aspect of his character, sort of thing,
Right, because gay automatically means that you're feminine. It's like, not necessarily. But anyway, okay, because like there's... Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
I used to know how to braid hair, and I'm not gay, so I don't know. But
well, I don't think I've ever tried. I'd probably be terrible at it, but who knows, if I practice, maybe I would get better at it.
I have really long hair, and I braided it sometimes, so I don't know how.
I mean, if it's fun, if it's meditative, then why not? And
it's
good skill to have. And then Mita, she sexually assaults Lars in the hotel room that they're in. But since she's a woman, it's okay anyway. But whatever. They play it off for laughs. It's fun, right? Hey, it's cool. Because a guy always wants it, right? He always wants it. Always. He's never tired. He's always tired. He's never tired. He's never not at full function, especially as he gets older. He's still like a young buck, his 20s, just ready to serve at any moment. He's not in the mood to do anything else, like watch a movie, play some music, read a book. So it's okay if you just grab him by the balls, right? Hey, it's their culture. It says it's okay. Anyway, I'm obviously joking. She didn't do anything but whatever. But she did grab the balls. But anyway, and
they end up not sleeping together, which is interesting too. So yeah,
because he was in love with Sigrit, and so, but Sigrit comes in the hotel room. She sees Mita lying next to him, and so she makes. I think it's a pretty fair assumption to make.
Yeah,
I mean. You know what I mean? Like, if you see some hot woman laying next to some guy in the bed in the morning, it's probably, probably that's what happened. And so she gets, kind of,
believe me, I mean, when I was in high school, there was a few times where I would hang out with my female friends, and they would sleep in the same bed with me, and then guys that I knew would be like, "Oh, you guys got together, didn't you?" And I was like, "No."
like, oh, well, he's just being modest, bro. Like, no, I literally didn't do it. Okay, you don't kiss and tell, gotcha. No, literally, I've got a video camera. Actually, I was filming a movie and we accidentally left it on. There's nothing there whatsoever. Yeah, well, you edit that part out. No, I don't have the ability to edit things out right now. Well, it's like, okay, dude, like you want this to happen more than I do. Like, you're trying to live vicariously through me.
Created the whole situation using AI just because I wanted it to happen. No, I'm just joking.
AI 1995. Whatever. That's some really advanced shit you had.
It was actually, they just bought a couple of Barbie dolls and they're like, here we go.
That's some AI that you were hiding from the world in your back pocket, much like the granddaddy piano you put in your pocket. When you're at the music
Baby Grand, yeah,
whatever it was, the music section of
the Center for the Performing Arts, yeah.
the Performing Arts, yeah. Oh my god! And so we get like this big tension, going on because she's fuming, thinking that he, slept with Mita. She's wearing basically a court jester's costume that he made for her that he thought looked cool for some reason. I don't know why, but stick to the music, I guess, dude, because I don't know how anyone would make a dress like that and think that it looked cool. So I don't know. And so she rips it up, basically says, hey, since we're all free here, there's no rules, right? So let's just all go have sex with anyone we want to. And so they get into this weird thing where he's like, okay, well, I'm going to have sex with everyone. He's like, Theo, who's that guy with the headphones? Theo. It's like, Theo, I'm going to have sex with you, my friend. The way he says my friend afterwards. It's such a weird thing to say. I'm going to have sex with you, my friend. It's like...
That's how I always tried to come on to people, and I think that's why. No, I'm just joking.
I'm gonna have sex with you, my friend. It's gonna be great. It's like everyone's like visibly confused. They're like, what's this guy saying? And so she storms off. She basically says that Lemtov, Alexander, understands her, better than he does because he can like see her heart, and all Lars cares about is winning the contest. And, Lars just being very obtuse about things because she's like, well, at least he sees me. He's like, I see you every day. It's like, oh my god, dude, that's not what she means. Like, really? Like, why would anyone say that if they know that you literally see them every day? Like, what, you thought that he was blind? And then, like, what? Like, anyway. And so the tension starts building more and more and more throughout the movie. Because of that, eventually Lemtov he's continuing trying to get her to join. Basically saying that they'll, like, be like a power couple. Like, they'll be even more famous and she'll be rich and they'll basically become like Jay-Z and like Beyonce or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And so because in a sense, Lemtov is almost kind of like Lars if Lars was like super successful. Like you can almost see like a correlation because like he wants her and she wants Lars, and he's kind of like Lars who would be if he got everything he wanted. That would pretty much what Lars would be almost. That's kind of like an interesting little symbolism that they played up in the movie. A bunch of Americans come by. Lars hates Americans. There's a lot of negativity he has towards tourists, American tourists in particular.
Which makes sense, and he spouts out off all the stuff that basically the world sees America as because we're horrible. Anyway, so
well, there's no. I mean, like it's not like every European country got together and decided to come up with a single talking point to say every single time about American tourists. And like, haha, we did it. No, it's because American tourists are acting this way in these countries, and like it. They don't like it when you litter, for one thing. Go to other places like Japan, for example. Japan hardly even has like waste baskets outside, like in public, because most people are not just throwing shit around. So, like,
what's really cool? So, the only other country I've ever been to is Canada. But I was in Toronto. Every corner has a trash can and recycling bins. Every corner.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's no litter. It's like because like Toronto is like New York City but clean. So
right, but that's not American, boy, because American
it's literally my favorite city in the world that I've been to. But I've only been to a few. So
still, I mean, still something to compare to. So been to a few. So you got that one. That's I mean, like that's not American though, because America we're tough and we don't want things super clean because that soft and stuff. We don't need to be soft. We need to be hard. And just like the boner pills I bought from Alex Jones, they make me hard. It's actually blood pressure's driving me nuts right now. I'm gonna die from it. But and that's America for you. Fuck other country. Anyway, sorry, I'm not trying to make this political. This episode's too important for me to do that. Yeah, boo. And so basically, okay, go ahead. Yeah, can you?
they end up in the semifinals. Then I mean, they have to go to the semifinals. That's the first part that they have to go to. Little factual errors here with as far as the semifinals go that I read here. The 5 biggest financial contributors to Eurovision go straight to the finals without going through the semifinals. These countries are Spain, France, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom.
Okay.
So in the film, Spain and UK sing in the semifinals, which is something that has never happened in the history of the festival.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, the host country has a guaranteed place in the final as well. And since the contest was being held in Edinburgh, that means the UK would have been in the final anyway, even if it wasn't already a member of the Big Five.
Yeah.
So just a little trivia there.
Just a little bit of factoids. Another factoid, too, is that the guy, the Irish, British, the journalist you're talking about, I forgot his name.
Graham Norton. Graham Norton, yeah.
Throughout these songs, he's kind of doing commentary, and I guess in Eurovision, you're not allowed to even do commentary while the song's playing. So that's also kind of an incorrect thing, a little bit.
It may depend. He is a host of the British televised version of the Eurovision contest every year. So,
okay,
yeah, he is. I don't know if he does he might do commentary after they perform more so than during it, like in the movie. But that might just been a way to like save time, on screen. So
yeah, so yeah. I mean, this is like little factoids that are fun to kind of just learn. Like especially like Mike and I, we always like research a lot of shit for fun. like I still at some point want to do our podcast where we just talk about the history of various soda. I think that would be a great idea.
We could. If you would like us to do that, we can put that up as a bonus episode on our Patreon. Be sure to join our Patreon. The link is at all2real2.com. Check it out. It's also in the show notes for this episode.
Do it. Check it. Do it. So Mita comes to visit Lars again, or Sigrit in the hotel. Sigrit's knitting a very angry sweater, as Mita puts it, and she basically tells hey, he didn't have sex with me. I wanted to, he didn't want to, so we just kind of fell asleep together. And so Sigrit feels like an idiot, I can't believe I accused them of doing this or whatever. And so they get to the dressing room to perform their double treble again. She apologizes to him. He says, hey, I put the song back to the to the normal, the old version or whatever, and he makes an extra long dress for the quote dimensions of the stage. The Sigrit
totally Chekhov's dress, because you saw what was coming with that.
What was coming. Actually pretty good dress. So I think it's odd that he made a freaking court jester's dress, and then somehow he was at, and how did he have time to, and whatever. I'm not going to get into that. It doesn't matter. And so all we know is that Lars is basically like a creative genius, but he's also like really stupid at the same time. I guess that's what we're supposed to know about the movie. And so, song goes well at first. At one point she almost trips a little bit on the scarf, but she maintains her footing, which is nice. But then Lars gets in a weird hamster wheel type of thing, and Garf gets sucked up into it. Sparks fly, literal sparks, not like between Sigrit and Lars when it comes to like kissing and whatnot. And I mean later, but not during this time. And then the wheel ends up going into near the audience area kind of, and they got banged up pretty bad, but then like the true Vikings that they are, they went back on stage and they finished the song with dignity, and then everyone laughed at them. And so Lars can't take laughter because when he was a kid, all of his father and friends were laughing at him, so then that's kind of a trigger for him basically. So then he storms off. He wants Sigrid to go home with them. As soon as they leave though, people start clapping and cheering for them, but nobody, they can't hear the audience doing that. Although I would think that's bullshit too, because they weren't that far away from the stage when they started clapping, so I don't think they would not be able to hear that, but whatever. And so they get into this big argument. Sigrid's basically saying like, hey, I've never asked anything of you. Can you just do this one thing for me, please? And then he's like, no, you need to do this for me, and you're being selfish and all this kind of crap. And she's like, I'm being selfish. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've done everything for you. I followed your lead. You've written all of our songs, or at least the songs that we perform live. I've pretty much dedicated my whole life to you. Being with you, almost tied to you, almost literally at this point, and then you're calling me selfish. And then he's like, fine, no, I'm leaving. You can go and, get humiliated or whatever. And she's like, yes, like, that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going into there because I'm an artist, and I'm going to the artist section. And when I see Iceland gets no votes, I'm still going to take it. And he's like, no, it's like, I'm going to take it because I know I'm more than this content. And that's interesting because with Lars, it's always about the contest. That's what he won his whole life, has been about winning the contest. So it's like, okay, so what happens then? What if you win? Then what? Are you done with music? Is that it? Was that the only reason why you liked music? Yeah.
It's like, you that's why it's so annoying with a lot of the way that people look at the world nowadays. It's like you have to be something. You're defined by that one thing. You have to be like, oh, you're a basketball player, or you're a singer, or you're a actor, or whatever. But there's more to people than that. And then it just, like, people get pigeonholed into those things, and then eventually, like, they try to do something else and nobody will accept it. And that's just what's kind of sad about our modern world, because I think in a lot of ways, we're stuck in this thing where you're one profession or whatever, and that's who you are. But we should never be defined by our profession or our passion even. It's just, there's more to people.
Yeah, it's just one aspect. I mean, like, I remember, people still kind of make fun of him for it now, every once in a while. When Garth Brooks made a rock album by a different name, it was like, how dare you make a rock album when you've already made like 80 country albums? Not allowed to do one rock album. You need to do another 7 country albums before I'll even think of letting you do it.
To be fair, it was because he was going by Chris Gaines, and he was trying to do something kind of weird at the time. I mean, it was really kind of weird. I mean, the music was fine. It was the fact that he was trying to put on a different persona and stuff like that, and the world wasn't really ready for that at the time. But who knows? And I've recently read about some possible bad things about Garth Brooks too, so it's kind of clouding my vision of the guy.
I just made that example.
He supposedly sexually assaulted like his cook or something. So yeah,
maybe I did hear. Maybe I was like, it's like that almost incepted me to think of him, like, or something like that.
Yeah,
like, I was like, yeah, what about? Yeah, okay.
I do want to do like an episode sometime, either on this or another podcast I'm developing about the Chris Gaines situation. So let's see that.
Okay. Yeah, and so Lars,
he hosted SNL. He hosted SNL, and the musical guest was Chris Gaines.
Okay, so that is kind of stupid. All right. No, I agree with you. That's kind of dumb. Like, come on, like, that's what you're pulling.
There's a lot to it, and I do think actually I want to do an episode about that. Maybe we will. So,
I mean, I'd be okay with that. And oh god, and so Lars, like a baby, he packs up and goes back to Iceland because he thinks that Sigrit loves Alexander Lemtov, because he
heard her playing her song and in her hotel room, and thinks the song was written about him and not Lars. So yeah,
despite the fact that she literally told him that she wrote the song for him, and he still doesn't believe her. So okay, so you don't.
She didn't tell him until afterwards.
No, when they got into an argument, she goes, I wrote that song for you. And then she went back into the artist area. Like during an argument they had outside when they got booed off the stage or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, because he goes, go back to Lemtov, go sing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, Lars is such an idiot. Like, he's so blinded by his passion that she literally just told him, no, I wrote that song for you. And then he's like, okay, I'm going home then. It's just like, what are you talking about, dude? Like okay, I guess they needed drama for the movie, but it's just so strange,
Yes.
I think they
some of the drama, like that was my issue with this movie. I like the movie. Don't get me wrong. I liked it a lot better than I thought I would, but I think it's too long. And I think it's about like 15, 20 minutes too long. And also the manufactured conflict in the movie was kind of out of nowhere in a lot of situations. Like even the whole conflict between Lars and his dad just seemed kind of pointless at times.
Yeah, played up a little bit. Yeah, with Pierce Brosnan.
It's like when they performed, the whole bar was watching the contest, and he left and didn't realize that they actually got through either. because he was just basically he saw them kind of fail when it came to the hamster wheel and the dress situation, and so Eric, the dad, played by Pierce Brosnan, decides that I'm going to leave the bar, and so he never found out that they got through to the finals. So
right, and later on we find out that he left because he was actually proud of them and he didn't want to cry in front of them, basically, because he was touched by the fact that they got back up and sang the song instead of just forfeiting or whatever. Which is pretty noble if you think about it. I mean, if you're injured severely like that, you got blood cuts and shit like that, probably bruises.
You fall off the horse, so to say, and get back on.
There is something inherently noble about that. I think every human almost innately has that sort of built into their brain to like respect that kind of thing. Like it's almost like a DNA wise, like just we all have it basically. And so he goes home. Iceland turns out Iceland. Oh, that's the other thing too about the dialogue sometimes. The thing I hate about the dialogue, and this is a problem I have with pretty much most movies that Will Ferrell has a part in writing, it seems like, is they'll have these like random aside conversations that don't have anything to do with the argument or conversation they're having, but they're somehow supposed to be funny. But I never, like Talladega Nights is a great example of this. There's so many of these like little conversations within the big conversation, but they're just so. For me, it's not my kind of humor. I don't like it that much. I hate
that movie with a passion.
I know you do. I know you do.
I hate that movie so much, and it's not just because I have personal reasons to hate it, but it's not well written at all, and I don't understand why people like it. I mean, there's a few Will Ferrell movies that I think are really well done. Anchorman is really well done, and Step Brothers is really well done. There's probably
great.
Probably some more, but as far as the comedies go, those are two really good movies. They're solid, almost throughout. So yeah,
almost through the whole movie. But Talladega Nights. I didn't bring that up because of personal reasons. I just mean I know the movie. I know you hate the movie.
I know what you mean. I was just pointing out that I agree with you because I think that movie is badly written. Just is.
It's objectively true. I'm sorry. Like I know arts is subjective, but no, and in this case, I'm drawing the hard line. And no, objective. This is objective at this point. No. It just as the sky is blue and it rains, it's subjective. But
yes.
Well, if you're colorblind, I guess it won't be blue. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But like. I'm undercutting my own point, but anyway. So
good job.
Wow, I just totally undercut my own argument. That's great. If I was on a debate stage, my opponent would just pounce right on that. It's like he doesn't even know what he believes, or whatever.
A lot of people do that. Like 1 second they'll say one thing, and then the next second they'll say the exact opposite. But half the time people don't even catch it. So it's
It's like Ben Shapiro because he talks super fast. He probably does that a million times a minute. You're like, wait a minute, didn't you just say the opposite of what you said 30 seconds ago? I don't really care because right now I'm a new subject anyway. So and so there's this like little aside conversation when they're arguing outside the concert hall when the crowd's cheering them, and then she's like saying like Lemtov was right about you, is that you will never be satisfied, that all you care about is winning. And then he goes, well, what does Lemtov know? And she goes, he actually knows a lot. Like, he knows a lot, like braiding hair and elves. I'm like, why? I hate that part. Like, I almost want to like just edit that part out if I had the ability to do that. That part always just, rates on me every time I watch. I'm like,
I think it's to bring it back to the elves thing, because that's the other thing. There's elves in Iceland. I don't think we talked about them, but there's like these little things, and this is an actual thing that happens in Iceland. They do have these little houses built to elves. It's and then they feed them. There's how they have garden gnomes exist.
Yeah.
A lot of it in Europe, they did have these things where they actually build houses for like gnomes or elves or places, people like that, like in their little gardens, and they'll have these little houses for them. I listened to this whole podcast about the history of garden gnomes. It's weird, but it was an episode but in Europe they would have like these little houses built for the gnomes, but then it actually even became like they would have like these hermits or things like that they would call in different places too, and they actually did in some places have actual men live in these houses on these, like they were bigger houses, but they were like just small like houses with like bare little things, but it was like a decoration where they were actual men that live in these houses as decoration for the people, and the people would like feed them to live in their garden, and
That's
they would
really bizarre.
bring them food and stuff like that. And then sometimes it would become just like statues that they would actually give food to and stuff, and then sometimes they became like religious aspects and stuff. It's just, it's really weird history. So
that is bizarre. I mean, it kind of reminds me of those quote human zoos that people used to have. Terrible, but bring back to Israel. Not trying to get on that, but like apparently some people would just like essentially like pay like a Bedouin family to just kind of like hang out there so that tourists can like see what it's like to live in the desert or whatever. Just like Jesus Christ,
Weird.
guys! Like, that's so fucked up.
I mean, the whole idea of zoos in general is kind of, and I mean, it's like, I mean, we get to other things like that too, like where P.T. Barnum in the United States just like basically bought a slave and put her on display all the time and stuff. Like he even though slavery was outlawed, but he somehow was able to like basically own this woman and put her on display, saying that she was the nursemaid to George Washington or something, which she wasn't, because she wasn't old enough to be. But
it would be possible, but. Yeah, that guy was a piece of shit.
And then even after she was dead, he toured her body around the country and stuff.
That's creepy as fuck. What? Wow, that is, man.
Humanity has done a lot of weird, fucked up things for entertainment purposes.
Oh,
so.
Like we think like TikTok and shit is weird now, man. Like go back and you find the weirdest shit people would do, not only for entertainment but for like torture.
But then you take P.T. Barnum thing, and then they end up making the movie The Greatest Showman, and they have they make him a hero in the movie, and it's like, okay.
Or it's just like they always gotta church it up. Like same thing with like Edison. He was kind of bad, and he didn't really pay
Henry Ford, anybody that did anything, So yeah. So
sorry. So go ahead.
Back to the movie. We've got this like situation, like, so he's back in his hometown in Iceland, and he's decided to become a fisherman. So he tells his old drummer, who's this little kid, give up on your dreams, they're never gonna happen, and stuff like that.
Like, I know, terrible.
Greatest advice ever. No, joking. No.
So
and so he's out in the boat with his dad, and then one of the guys on the boat just randomly, after they've been out there in the middle of the water for a long time, tells him like, "Oh yeah, you guys got to the finals."
Like, what? Like, why didn't you tell? I thought you already knew. It's like, wait, why would he think that? Like, why would he fishing on the boat if he knew? I swear to God, these guys are morons. But this is after the father admits to Lars that he's proud of him and loves him, and about him getting up and continuing on after he fell in the contest and stuff, and convinces him that he needs to fight for the love of Sigrit. So then he swims back to town because they're in the middle of the lake or whatever. So then what happens? And so before that, though, there's a really beautiful moment where all the countries start giving points to Iceland, because she wasn't going to get any points, and then each country was given like 8 points, and it kept trickling down, and then to the point where she was like crying, basically, like, oh my God, I can't believe this, But so he swims back to the shore. That Victor dude, he's kind of like one of these like modern business guys. Like he doesn't really believe like in the old ways, and he doesn't want Iceland to sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but plus the main thing is he doesn't want Iceland to host Eurovision, because if they do, they won't be able to afford it. So
because there's only so many people who live there, like,
and he's the head of the Bank of Iceland, basically. So
he's been kind of rooting against them the whole time, of like, like one time he thought like he's like, oh, that's great. Like, no, it's not great. They're doing horribly. He's like, oh yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, and then he runs into him, and he asks him for a ride, and he wants to stop, and he stops at the little elves in the side of the road, and he basically admits to the fact that he was the one who blew up the people on the boat earlier because he didn't want them to perform in Eurovision.
That's like the weirdest thing ever to do. Like,
there are probably so many other ways you could have done that without killing, people.
I mean, I get it. You want to keep your job, man. You're gonna blow up a boat of like hundreds of people.
And I mean, and then the main thing is he's like, okay with them going to perform because they're so bad in his mind, and it kind of becomes like the producers in a way, you know, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna put up this bad musical and it's gonna make me the money that I need. So, you know, but yeah.
I thought he struck gold with it. It's like, oh, this is a perfect plan to like sell my type of thing. And it's like, shit, no, they're doing good. They even like said their name lines, like, how is Firestorm doing? Fire Saga, not Fire. Oh god.
Then what happens to the elves?
Oh, that's right. So like the guy, he's like choking Lars with like his key thing, like with like a strangling, like a basically it's like a
like the lanyard or something. Yeah.
Like, and he's like trying to strangle him to death, and then one of the elves throws a knife in his back and kills him.
Yeah.
Then shuts the door, and Lars is like, "Enjoy the biscuits," and like.
My thing is that Lars takes the knife out of the guy's back and then picks it up and then leaves it on his back. So it's like you put your fingerprints all over the fucking thing. I'm waiting for the sequel where Lars gets arrested for killing this guy.
That's what I'm gonna say. It's like once they get back to Iceland, the police are immediately waiting for him. It's like the sequel, the downfall of Lars Eriksson or something like that.
He's just singing "Sweet Low Chariot."
Yeah, exactly. And so what I don't understand about this, and I know it's for the movie, I get it, but so he wants to go back, you know, to where, so he has to fly again, basically, to Scotland, I think is where they're holding the thing, but he doesn't change his clothes from his fishing uniform, like he didn't have time to just put on a suit, or, I mean, it seems odd to me that you would fly wearing your fisherman gear. And then go to another country, basically like hijack a car essentially from those idiot American tourists again, lying to them that there's no speed limit in any European country. You go any speed you want. It's obviously not true. And making fun of them the whole time because he just hates Americans so much. Like he just hates them. And then he finally gets to the finally gets to the stage,
and also the fastest direct flight. I guess that isn't too bad. The fastest direct flight from Reykjavik to Edinburgh is 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's not bad, but come on, change your clothes at least. I mean,
they're not in Reykjavik. They're in a small town. I don't even remember what the name of the town.
No, you're right. So he had to travel to a major city for the airport.
Yeah, let me see. They're in.
You're gonna check it out. Like
they're in Husavik. Yeah. I wonder if there's a airport in Husavik.
Probably not like that kind of airport. Like
there is a small airport.
Okay, all right.
The runway is 10.4 kilometers southwest of the town. But I don't think it's a single runway. It's a domestic airport. I don't. There's no way you can fly to Edinburgh from there. So
okay. All right, I got you. All right, so he doesn't change his fisherman uniform for whatever reason. He flies directly there, hijacks the car essentially, gets to the stage, interrupts the song. Everyone's like, oh my god, like these guys do this all the time. Can you just get through a fucking song without some kind of adventure? And he convinces Sigrid to sing the song that she wrote instead of Double Trouble, even though it will disqualify them from winning action. And so he magically knows how to play the piano parts of the song, even though he only heard her writing it in the hotel room very faintly. And so I'm not sure how that happened, but
he's just that good. He's that good.
That good. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They really should have played up the fact that Lars is like a musical and creative genius, and they didn't go further enough into that. They could have like had a scene where he's like designing a dress, at the same time he's writing lyrics, he's playing the piano, and he's also like, I don't know, like writing a book or I don't know, something. And then they're like, oh, by the way, and then they just go to something else. And so they sing the song, really great song. There's all kinds of instrumentation. She, quote, hits the Spjörg note. Forgot about that. Mentioned that. Apparently in Icelandic, or I don't know, but in the movie, and there's an Icelandic concept called the Spjörg note that you sing from your heart, which is like basically, I don't even know if that's even the Icelandic thing or not. But in the movie,
yes,
basically in the movie it says that, because I don't want to go here and say like, oh, this is an Icelandic thing. I don't even know if it's true or not. But,
at least in the world of the movie, it exists. So that's all that matters.
In this universe, the the Fire Saga the FSU, basically it's like expresses like who you are as a person. Like it's like something that just comes from within you that's more than just like music or a note or whatever. So she hits this really high note called the Spear note. Obviously they get disqualified. They kiss, so now they're in love, and Alexander's happy for them, but he's also pretty sad because he's gay and he's not allowed to be gay in Russia because Russia has very strict laws when it comes to LGBT stuff, which is weird that there's a whole segment of the left wing who supports Russia, even though, anyway, I'm not getting into that. But it's like, okay, It seems odd. All right, okay, fine, whatever. Then, like, seems strange. All right, and that's because America bad. So any country that doesn't like America is automatically good because that's their worldview is that reductive. Where America hates this country automatically good. But is it like
that's for another time in another podcast that could do it better than us?
Yeah. And so Mita's like, hey, like you deserve to be happy too. And he's like, well, Mother Russia doesn't agree. And so she invites him to come to Greece with her, basically just kind of hang out with her for a while. And then they go back home. Some time goes by. They have a baby now together, and her mom is getting married to his dad. So now they are step siblings after having a child together. So,
so she is a sister.
So she is a sister. Actually, yes. Well, stepsister.
So I want to point out something about this. And the Americans are there watching it too. So
that's right. Yeah.
So Lars and Sigrit were portrayed as school-aged children when ABBA sang Waterloo on Eurovision in 1974,
yes.
Meaning they are both in their 50s during the present day in the movie. However, at the end of the movie, she and Lars have just had a new baby, even though Sigrit would probably be past menopause age.
Yep. And she does not look like 50 at all. I mean, he's in his 50s, obviously. So did the movie ever say it was in 2020 though? Was there ever like a?
Yeah,
I'm trying to. They did. Okay.
Pretty sure they did. Plus the fact that the technology and stuff would make it that year. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, Rachel McAdams is a year younger than me. So, and I was born in 1977. She was born in 1978. So she was in her 40s when this was made, but she should have been in her 50s, the character. So yeah,
right, because they're both probably around 5 years old at the time, maybe 6. So that would mean they're either born 1969 or 68, which would make them 51 or 52 years old. And, I mean, some people do have children when they're later in life. I mean, but still, it's like she does not look like she's in her 50s. Like, and
Will Ferrell's 11 years older than her. He was born in 1967.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is Pierce Brosnan is only like 12 years older than Will Ferrell. So
I looked that up too. Yeah, he's in the 70s, bro. I did not know that. Yeah. Very handsome guy still.
My first James Bond, because he got me into James Bond because I went and saw one of his movies in theaters. I had like boycotted James Bond for years just because I thought it looked stupid. And then I watched one of his movies and I was like, oh, these are kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. I liked his version in the 90s.
He was, in my opinion, the perfect combination of Sean Connery and Roger Moore. He was like kind of a combo of the two. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. I like those ones too. And so he makes fun of the Americans some more. He, talking about their monster trucks and chili corn dogs, and says he got some opiates for them to take. Like, wow, like Jesus Christ, dude! Like, he really hates them. And then, like, man, like the opiate crisis. He's like, yeah, I got some for you. Go get addicted, you stupid fucks. Jesus Christ. Man, this guy, he's got a dark side to him. That's the sequel right there. He become like Breaking Bad. He needs extra money because the band's not making it. So he becomes an opiate maker and dealer. And he gets Americans hooked on opiates. Like, he ships them across. He uses his dad's fisherman boat. Unfortunately, his dad passed away, so he inherited the boat. And so then he uses the boat to ship the boat doesn't all the way go from Iceland to America. That would take too long. So he goes out a little bit into the ocean. Then that boat picks up the opiates, and then it goes through like Maine. Maybe Maine seems like a good place that would land in. And then from Maine. And then from Maine, it then travels throughout the United States. By the way, interesting factoid. You know how they're like, oh, the immigrants are bringing drugs and crime into the United States. Actually, motherfucker, most drugs comes from points of entry from like the ocean. So I don't think Mexicans are coming from the ocean. So, okay.
Also, a high percentage of drugs are actually produced in the United States. So, and they actually are being sent to other countries. So, yeah.
Exports. So that's my sequel. Anyway, that's the end of the. Oh no, sorry. One more thing. They played this weird song called "Ya Ya Ding Dong," which everyone loves. They always want him to play that song instead of like their song.
Mm-hmm.
Very sexual, almost like I don't know when this is going to upload it, but there was a song in the movie called "The Apple." With a very sexually, I wouldn't even say suggestive song because it was, I mean, beyond suggestive.
It was flat out. It was flat out like latent. Yeah, this will air a couple weeks after the Apple. So yeah, and the song "Ya Ya Ding Dong" is likely an homage to successful Eurovision songs that use simple nonsense and onomatopoeic lyrics. Most likely because it's easier for people from all across Europe to sing along, no matter what language. Previous examples include Ding a Dong from the Netherlands, that won in 1975, Boom Bang a Bang from the UK by Lulu, that won in 1969, and La 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 from Spain, that famously beat British entry Cliff Richard's Congratulations in 1968. This is from the Internet Movie Database that I'm reading. So yeah.
Oh,
yes.
That's crazy, yo.
Yo, Ya Ya Ding Dong.
Ding Dong. Good song. It's actually a pretty good song. Very pretty good song.
Yeah, it also reminds me of like songs like, you know, My Ding-a-Ling and stuff like that used to come out. So back in the Won't you play with my ding-a-ling?
Wow, I know, it's crazy.
That was an actual hit. Yeah.
I know, that's wild. So that's it. That's the movie. That Fire Saga. I mean, we talked more about the movie as opposed to like going through each detail because why would we do that? I mean, I like talking about it more than like beat by beat. Like, you know what I mean? Too. Like how I feel about something or like stuff that might relate to real life a little bit. You know,
I'm more about the vibes, man. The vibes.
Yeah. Vibes, bro. Just like those fucking Americans, the vibes in Iceland. Get out of my country. Go.
So, any other thoughts here before we wrap things up?
No, not really.
Okay, well, I don't have anything else to say. So because I said I don't have anything else to say, I'm going to tell people that they should check out ALL2-Real2.com again and go to our TeePublic. Make sure you check out all of our social media. So I started I'm the only member of it, but I started a Reddit page for us.
Oh, cool.
So look that up, folks. Check it out. Join, talk about the stuff you want us to review and the stuff we have reviewed and anything else you want to. I mean, I don't care. You know, just don't get any big fights on there or anything. I don't care.
No fights, no Reddit arguments.
Yes.
I know those get bad.
Yeah, but yeah, you can look that up. It's All2Real2, I think. Just look that up on Reddit and it'll come up. I'm sure. And give us a 5-star review wherever you can. Share the show with your friends. You can sing about it if you want to. You could join the Eurovision contest and your song could just be about our podcast. Like different lyrics in different languages so more people find us. You know, they probably won't understand us because they don't speak English, but you know. Whatever.
It's okay. Sometimes I listen to stuff that speaks another language. I don't know what they're saying. I just listen to it. So, you know.
Yeah, I hope people are, and if you are and you understand us somehow, even though you don't understand English, hello.
They understand what's in our heart.
Yes.
That communicate through our spiritual hearts. That's what we do.
Yes. You can just look right into my heart. I'll even open up my chest so you can. I got to go get a knife. Oh, wait.
No.
Oh, I shouldn't do that, should I?
No.
So, anyways, folks, thanks for listening. Just remember that I love you. Sesame loves you. She's probably not my sister.
No. Well, now.
Free Palestine. Trans lives are human lives. And until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All2Real2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.